Proctor.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. Just for the viewers, this is the latest broadcast of Leading Ladies TV, the channel that's brought to you to inspire women and encourage women to go out and make life happen. I am so privileged and honoured today to have as our guest Dina Proctor, who's got an amazing story about making choices and making decisions. Dina is author of the best-selling book Madly Chasing Peace, highly recommended, and creator of the 3x3 meditation method, which I hope you're going to share a little bit with us today, because that is a game changer. So I'm going to say thank you and welcome to Leading Ladies TV.
Oh, thank you so much. I love what you're creating here, Amanda. I'm happy to be part of it.
Oh, thank you. So Dina, the idea of Leading Ladies TV is for women to share a story where I always say to anybody watching, if one person who sees this makes a decision to do something different as a result, then we have hit our target market, because we can change lives one person at a time, and everybody's ready to hear the message at a different time. So you have a really amazing, inspiring story to share, and are you happy to share it with our viewers?
Yeah, I would love to. Just to kind of give you the overview version, towards the end of 2008 is when I hit my rock bottom points in my life. And that's when everything really broke apart for me, but was actually breaking open for me. I was in my early 30s, and I had spent more than 10 years in and out of clinical depression. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and throughout my 20s, I was going to different therapists, group therapy, different psychiatrists, trying different medications, anti-anxieties, antidepressants, to try and fix this depression. I call it like an emotional black hole that I had inside of myself. And it was funny because I felt like I was trying all of these methods and all of these medications, but nothing was really hitting the mark. Nothing was getting there for me and really getting me to that place of feeling a sense of well-being or a sense of self-esteem even. And I was changing jobs, I was changing cities, changing boyfriends, changing cars, like anything to try and fix the way that I was feeling. I figured if I could just manage my outside life, things on the inside would start feeling better. But looking back now, I can see that I was changing my situation, but I was taking myself with me. So nothing was really changing for the long term or for the better. And so I really was spiraling out of control on the inside emotionally, holding everything together on the outside, but inside I was just dying. And in my late 20s, because of this emotional desperation, I was seeking answers that weren't necessarily healthy. I fell into a really heavy alcohol addiction. I had constant alcohol in my bloodstream for 2 or 3 years. I would have to have a drink to get out of bed in the morning, or, as I would go through the workday, I would have to drink to be able to keep my energy level up. My addiction really was hard and heavy. It was, it took me down kind of quickly when I got into it. And, in about 2 or 3 years of that constant alcohol in my bloodstream, still trying to fix myself with therapies and changing jobs and all of that, I reached a point where, I was selling out on all of my morals. I was stealing money. I was waking up next to guys I didn't even know. It wasn't me. It was this horrible desperation inside of myself. I was acting out in all of these different ways, and I couldn't look myself in the mirror. And I finally got to the point where I planned a date to take my own life, because I couldn't see my life with alcohol. I couldn't see it without alcohol. And I felt like I was trying all of these things to desperately fix myself, and nothing was working. So at that rock bottom point, which is at the end of 2008, I ended up in an addiction recovery program. I was the worst case of denial that you've ever seen, but it was the right place for me to be. And I finally surrendered to going through the steps of the program. And when I talked to and chose a mentor to bring me through the steps, the first thing that she told me to do was that I needed to learn to meditate. And I remember looking at her like, what kind of answer is that? What is meditation going to do for me? Sitting there in this floaty, wistful, weird kind of way. Like, how is this going to fix this mess I feel that I'm in? Shouldn't I be, writing letters and burning them, or hitting pillows with baseball bats or something? I really thought this was totally impractical. But she was really good with me. She was really tough love. And she just said, Dina, none of your ideas have been working. Why don't you try mine? And I didn't have anything to say to that. So I said, all right, I'll do it. I don't think it's going to do anything, but I'll try it. So her specific instruction to me was to sit still every morning for 20 minutes and focus on my breathing. Like, how hard could that be, right? So the first few days, I really tried it. I committed myself to it. I sat like she told me to. I put my timer on for 20 minutes. But I found that after about 3 minutes, it became physically intolerable for me to sit still any longer than that. And it was because I was still going through withdrawal from the addiction. You know, the horrible, negative, suicidal, self-deprecating thoughts were just, as soon as I would get quiet, they would just come alive. And it was intolerable for me physically, mentally, emotionally to sit still for longer than about 3 minutes. I would max out at the 3-minute mark. But something would nag at me, you know, as I was going throughout my day, like the only homework she gave me was to sit still for 20 minutes, and I couldn't even do that. So throughout the day, I would try and see, like, maybe I can try another few minutes here and another few minutes there. So I would do this messy 3-minute here, 3-minute there thing throughout the day, so that by the end of the day, I could tell her that I made her quota, that I, you know, kind of got my homework done. And what was really amazing about this was after about 8 weeks of this 3-minute here, 3-minute there, I had an experience. It was kind of my white light experience. It was an experience in what I can only call a state of higher consciousness. I came out of one of my meditations and I had no mind chatter in my head. I had no words, no voice in my head. And I never even knew that that was possible. But I was completely silent and still. I was fully present. Like, everything in my apartment looked beautiful. Even the dust on the, you know, wooden shelves and on the blinds. It was just exquisite. It was so gorgeous. And my awareness was above and behind my body. It was like I was hovering above my body, like animating my body like a finger puppet. And there were two kind of universal truths, I guess, that were made known to me while I was in that state. And that higher consciousness state, hovering above my body, lasted for about 3 days. The first thing that was obvious to me was that there's no such thing as time. It was really cute to me that we get so stressed out about time and trying to fit things in, and so no such thing as time. And the second thing that became really clear to me was that whatever we want to manifest or change or heal or transform in our exterior life, whether it's our career or financial situation or our bodies or our relationships, everything in our external world is a mirrored reflection of what's going on inside, kind of like our spiritual, emotional, mental health. So when I was going through my 20s, changing jobs and boyfriends and cities, I was, you know, changing the situation, but taking myself with me. And so I realized I don't actually need to change to work on changing my exterior circumstances, even my body. I just need to get centered, aligned into that place of being connected with that intuitive guidance, that highest self, that highest state of being that I'm capable of being in, and everything falls into place on the outside. So that's kind of how my story, and how the 3 by 3, which means 3 minutes 3 times a day, that's kind of what it evened out to, how it was formed, I guess you could say, how it was created.
That's amazing. I've meditated for a couple of years now, and I've not had that experience as yet. I suppose that's what we're all looking for, but I do really appreciate the stirring of the mind, and I think it's probably been the game changer for me in terms of, decluttering the voices, as we like to call them. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? The chatter in your head. I don't hear voices. Well, I do, but it's only my own, which is not the same thing. So then, at 8 weeks, then you were feeling fresh, new, completely different. And then, so what happened with the meditation? Do you think that was solely the thing that was responsible for you feeling fantastic?
It really was, because if I had known that the bliss, happiness, grounded level of peace I felt inside of myself was possible to access while I was still alive, I never would have wanted to take my own life. You know, so it really was a transformative kind of white light experience. And what led me up to it, like during those 8 weeks when I was in my meditation, all I would do was just say, I'm open, I'm willing, just show me. You know, like I had this, it wasn't desperate, it was just open. It was like surrender. I give up doing it my way. I'm open to be shown another way. And so I didn't even believe in God at the time. I was like a staunch atheist. I didn't even know who I was talking to. But it felt like I needed to be shown from something that was not me, that was not my own head, that was not my own logic and reason. And that's what it was like, my willingness, my openness towards something brand new that I think enabled that to seep into my experience. Because I believe that we're born into the world, babies and little tiny kids are for the most part in alignment, for the most part present, but we get trained away from that as the years go on. But that is what I credit the knowledge that I have today. And obviously I spent 2 years hardcore in the addiction recovery program. Like, that saved my life. The steps of that program were amazing for me. But in every step that I did in that program and every goal I've wanted to accomplish since then, like I've been able to lower my cholesterol and lose weight easily, because after I quit drinking, I started eating, so I had to shed some of that weight. Everything I've wanted to accomplish, making amends to people, started with getting centered, connected, grounded, and in tune with my intuitive guidance first. And then I went on to change my relationship with food, or prepare for a hard conversation where I had to, apologize for stealing a bunch of money or for hurting somebody or whatever. So whatever I want to create in the exterior of my life, whether even it's a conversation, something about my body, something, writing my book. Sorry about my voice. I've been talking so much lately. It's been leaving me. Anyway. But that's what I really gained from that. And that's what I do throughout the day. So meditation for me today isn't something that I check off the to-do list. It's not like I'm, go to the gym and have breakfast. And it's not like check, check, check. It's a state of being that I check into several times a day. Like I tell people, we nourish our body 3 times a day. Why not nourish our souls, our minds, our spiritual, mental consciousness as well?
I love this. And actually, I'm just looking at my list, which has got on it gym, 2 glasses of water, meditation. So, I'm intrigued. To be fair, I have practiced your 3x3, but for anybody that hasn't, because there are lots of people. We talk about meditation, we talk about mindfulness, and I often give people, like, here's an example of one. It's 20 minutes long. It is a long time for people when they're just starting out. Share what people do in a 3x3 in 2 minutes.
Yeah. So if people wanted to take it on as a practice, I always encourage you, just try it out for 7 days. Just commit to doing it for 7 days at a time. It doesn't have to be I'm changing my whole life or whatever. It's like, let me try this on. Let me get my feet wet with it. Let me sink into it a little bit. And then put reminders in your calendar 3 times a day. And also when you're meditating, use a timer so that you're not kind of half focused on peeking about how much time it's been. You want to lose yourself completely in the meditation time. So once you're in that meditation time, for the first 7 days, I call it weeding the garden. Because a lot of times our minds are like an overgrown garden with all these weeds. And we want to plant these positive thoughts, these positive roses. But if we start thinking all of these positive, amazing thoughts without doing the work of weeding the garden, the weeds are just going to choke out the roses. The doubt is going to come in. That's not realistic. Those thoughts are going to choke out the good thoughts we're planting. So the first 7 days is just about weeding the garden. You have a couple different things you can do. It's just about learning to quiet your mind at will. So a lot of times what I'll encourage people to do is to just sit and get in touch with their breath. Like whether you want to feel your chest moving up and down, or get in touch with the pulse point or the heartbeat, something like that, where you're really just feeling that mind, body, spirit are connected for those 3 minutes. You could do something like, some people aren't comfortable closing their eyes in the beginning with meditation. So I encourage you, like, put on a candle flame and play the game of looking for shapes in the candle flame. Like that looks like the tail of a wedding dress or the spire of a cathedral, something like that. Or you could do something that I call a neutral distraction exercise, where you start at like 201 and count backwards by 7s. And it's not about getting the math right. It's about immersing yourself in something that's neutral, so that by the end of those 3 minutes, you feel kind of refreshed or relieved, or just like you've had a bit of a break of the stressors or whatever's going on during the day. So it's just a simple way to start to get going.
I love that. I think that's the one I did, counting backwards, and I did it for a few days, and then and I thought that I was supposed to get to naught, and after and then I did it forwards and realised that in nines I was never going to get to there. But it really did just stop my mind and just to focus on something different. And there's a lot of people out here that work for themselves or work for busy organisations, and it just gets full on emails. And that 3 minutes was brilliant for me. It was just like, oh, I can feel your shoulders are going up, you're just getting a little bit like this, and it's just breathe and relax and still your mind. So what are some of the benefits?
Well, for me, I believe there's no limit to what we can heal, transform, create in our lives. So I believe that the first things you'll probably notice are, if you've had trouble sleeping or an inability to relax, that might be something. You may feel like, oh my gosh, I used to wake up and email would just stress me out all the time when I open my inbox, and you'd be like, well, actually, it doesn't trigger me like it used to. Like, you'll notice that things that felt overwhelming or hard or heavy or whatever before don't have that power over you anymore. So those are the things that you notice in the beginning, and you may notice that your blood pressure feels like it's evened out. You don't react as harshly as you might before, that sort of thing. So it's almost like the negative stuff that's going on will move itself over to neutral. And then when you're able to quiet your mind at will after 7 days or 14 days or whatever it takes to get to that place inside, that's when it gets fun, because that's when you can start planting the roses. You can visualize or ask for intuitive guidance as far as changing your relationship with food, if it's a body thing for you, or imagining a healing taking place in your body, or getting intuitive guidance over where a relationship is headed. Or, for me, I never imagined I'd be doing any of this. Like, telling people that I was a drunk, a thief, and a liar, I don't think so. Like, I had so much shame about that stuff. But when I got in touch with my meditation, I knew that it was important for me to get complete ownership of what I had done and who I used to be and all of that, and just forgive all of that, make amends where I needed to, so that I could have peace going forward and be able to comfortably share with other people. So there, and that's how I built my whole business and wrote my book and met the people that I've met who have supported me. It's all been through cultivating that inner space in meditation, because then you allow for the recognition of coincidences or inspired thoughts as they come in. You're more likely to catch them than you are to just dismiss them outright. So it gets you to a place where you're more interested in the inner guidance or the synchronicities of life, which is how I feel we're kind of designed to have our life flow and open up.
Yeah, I love this. I think there's a few things there. One is when you were given a challenge, which it was at the beginning, to quieten your mind for 20 minutes, rather than thinking I can't, you thought, how can I? And you found a way, which was just amazing, which you can now share with so many other people, because let's face it, we'd be hard challenged not to be able to find 3 minutes 3 times a day to practice something that's going to benefit our health, our heart, our head, absolutely everything. And and the other thing that I just love is the vulnerability in terms of being able to say, this is who I was, this is what I was, and now this is who I am, and this is what I am, and I'm here for you. It's lovely. I think you will have sparked an idea in all the listeners who watch this. And I certainly hope that people will think about this 3x3. I'll put all the details on the website, because you've got your website 3x3 and Dina Proctor, and let's set the challenge. Let's give it a try for 14 days. And I will put that underneath. I'll say, let's all do this 14 days and see how we feel. I'm excited about it. So you're obviously working with ladies now and people and helping them lead better lives. What's the one piece of advice that you would have for all the Leading Ladies TV listeners?
What I would say is, first of all, no matter what you're feeling right now, what you've gone through, whatever pinch point or pain point you might be in your life, first of all, you're not alone. That is the most important thing to know. And this too shall pass. Those are mantras that I keep with me all the time as I'm transitioning through. And so I just encourage you, stay present with what you're feeling. Connect with somebody who's been there, who can hold the lantern for you, who can guide you through whatever you're navigating right now. I've always had mentors. I will always have mentors, at least two. I always have two mentors, So that's something that I think is really, really important to remember. Like, we are all equal. We're all valuable. We all have something to give, whether we can see it or not. Maybe it just hasn't shown itself yet. So just kind of stay part of it, stay open, stay curious, and as much as you can, stay present.
Thank you. Chin chin, which is the wrong thing to say to somebody who's given up drink, isn't it? Sorry. Oh, total inspiration. Thank you so much. We are really privileged to have you here. And yeah, I'm thinking that we would maybe like to get you on again, and maybe even take us through some of that 3x3, which would be amazing. But in the meantime, thanks so much for being on Leading Ladies TV, and we'll see you soon.